Folks, what's going on? Zaide here with another episode of DramaQuest. I think this is 44? 44-ish? Yeah, it should be episode 44. So, wow, that's a lot of episodes. You know, when I started this, I was thinking that I would do like 12, 15 episodes, and here we are. It's been fun. I've been busy, so, our episodes aren't as consistent as they were a couple months ago when I had a little bit more free time. But nevertheless, we're still getting them out. I'm probably going to be recording like 3 episodes today because I've got a bunch of ideas and stuff I want to talk about that are pretty different. So I don't want to put them all into like one big episode. Anyway, you guys know how it goes. This is going to be our Teek Talk episode. I'm trying to do like a sort of regular discussion on Teek. But before we jump into it, I got to thank our newest patrons, James, Nicole, and Michael. Thank you guys. You're awesome. You're great. And with that said, let's just jump into talking about Teek. So where are we with Teek? We're about 2 months in. I think, by the time this goes live, we will be 2 months into the Teek server. So still super early, but we are wrapping up Kunark, right? We're like 3-4 weeks away from entering Velius at this point. And it's been a super awesome server, huge population. I mean, I think they pretty much came out and said like, hey, it is the most popular server of all time. They've had to do a bunch of adjustments to the server to allow it to accommodate a greater population, which is awesome because, some of those adjustments we think will benefit future TLP servers. So Teek is helping to drive changes that will make all future progression servers better and better and better. They might not all get the huge amount of resources that Teek got, but we recently had an update that said, hey, this server patch is making it so that when there's tons of people online or tons of people in a zone, it will run smoother. That stuff is super critical for TLPs because, you jam 10,000 people into lower GUC and it gets a little crazy sometimes. So it's great to see that with Teek. But my last episode, which was the Teek launch episode, which I think I still need to like release. Like patrons have had it for a month. But I haven't released it out, which I should have done. And my episode before that, talking about, them doing everything right recently. They were both super positive episodes. I think today we're going to focus on some of the issues that have been cropping up with Teek. So when Teek launched, obviously there was a big lack of third-party software like EverQuests specifically. Some people on both sides of the house kind of worked to reduce what that would look like on launch. First, there was that suspension wave like day one of launch. Second, there was like an anti-warp thing. I don't think that's even in anymore. Maybe it is. I haven't heard about it though. And then lastly, on the MQ2 dev side of things, they put in some work so that it wouldn't work on TrueBox servers anymore. Now, guys like Spiken, who are trash cans, sold an MQ compile for like $300 a month for people who are desperate and can't play without cheats, right? And he thought that he had locked this down so that only people who paid him could use it with like a hardware check. But obviously, that's pretty trivial to bypass. So the big idiot made his little thing, sent it out to people who paid him, and then someone promptly broke it, spread it around. So as far as we could tell, there's a ton of third-party software use all over Teek, probably in every single guild, especially including mine, right? There's no guild that is innocent. So it's not like pointing finger at any one group, right? This is like something that has to be tackled at a structural level. No one is innocent. Every guild has cheaters in it. But the interesting thing is like looking at Teek's population is huge. But having played from launch on Mischief and from launch on Teek, Mischief had like more guilds than Teek does, which is crazy, right? Because Teek has a bigger population than Mischief did. Mischief was the old most popular server of all time. Teek's even bigger than that, but Teek has fewer guilds. Now, it could be that the guilds are bigger on average, and that might be true. But honestly, what I think is that a larger portion of the player base on Teek are basically just people who are here to generate Krono revenue, whether it's for RMT or just to fund their accounts on other servers. And you see this on every TLP. It's very standard. But the number of box or bot armies I've seen, like I'm talking 12, 24, 36 box crews, 50 box crews that you see rolling around on Teek has been higher than what I've seen on any prior server. Now, I didn't play on Oakwind, where I heard it was extraordinarily bad. I heard Oakland was the worst. So I don't know how we compare to that. Someone else would have to talk about that. But I mean, like, you go onto Planet Hate pretty much any time, and there's like 224 boxers that just, like, anytime a mob spawns, they move over and kill it. It's crazy. I mean, no one really cares about open world hate, so it's not a big deal. But it's just crazy that they can be so open about it all the time. And there seems to be no consequence. Maybe there is. Maybe, like, here and there they get a character suspended as part of, like, suspension waves based on, heuristics data of, like, just key presses or time logged in or whatever the methodology they have is, a process scan when you enter the game world. But it's not like super stringent. It's not like taking people out. You know what I mean? No RMT ops are being canned because Dark Paw is like going crazy and doing a really good job on stopping third-party software use. And really, for most big RMT schemes, third-party software use is like the foundation of it, right? You want to keep your team small so that you have a big concentration of loot and wealth generated per the number of people, right? You just don't want to split. It's like robbing a bank, right? You could bring 100 people to rob a bank, but then you have to split the money 100 ways. So you do it with 5 people. Everyone boxing a lot of characters. And then we talk about, like, where else do we see them, right? Besides just clearing raid content and locking down certain zones that people kind of stay out of. You also have a ton of them in the PL game. PL is huge, 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 huge on Teek. I mean, there's, like, you go into general chat and it's just like a wall of PL advertisements 24/7. Soul A, almost around the clock, has PLers in it, AE PLers. Lower Guck has them all the time. Chardock has them all the time. Sebulus has some. The Hole has them all the time. So you can actually go from 1 to 60 in like 12 hours on Teek without an EXP bonus. There are people who will do 1 to 40 in about a 4-hour block, and then you just transition to the next PLer, which is either the Hole or Chardock, and they'll do that 40 to 60 in about 8 hours. As long as you run a 25% pot, boom, one night, you go from a fresh character to a level 60 character. And these PL crews have to be big, right? Because they've done a series of anti-PL mechanics, right? Like the stuns not overlapping a certain way. And now there's a limit to how many NPCs AoE spells will hit. I think it's 30. All these things make PLing a little bit more difficult. It makes it require a few more characters. And so there are so many characters involved in this mass PLing. And the player base, I think everyone can see the harm it does, because, like, natural leveling is harder to come by, and it has a huge outsized impact on the economy of the server. Because if you have people sitting in Chardock and in Sebulus especially 24/7 with bot crews just AoEing whole picks of mobs down, they're generating so much revenue on top of the currency perk, right? So they're getting more revenue than you normally would. All the gems, it's all getting funneled into one person. And then you take all that plat, you buy the Krono that is for sale in the tunnel. Krono price shoots up. And right, what do we see here? We have, like, Krono price on Teek is like 50,000. I think that's higher than it was on Mischief when we had a platinum dupe. It's crazy. And then Teek's population is so high. There's this parcel bug that has been happening. Like, there's like 3 different parcel bugs. But when you parcel an item, a few different things could happen. I parcel it to you, right? I parcel you, I don't know, a mithril breastplate, something, who cares, right? So I parcel you a mithril BP. Option 1, it goes from me to you, clean, boom, you got it. Perfect. That's what we want to see. Option 2, I parcel you this mithril BP, you don't get it. And we're like, what? Who knows where it went? We don't know, right? You can't tell where it ultimately landed, or if it just got deleted out in the ether somewhere. But then I, the sender, have to petition with logs and show the GMs that I said, I'm like, hey, here, I sent this item to this person. The GM checks. And then we know this is a legit bug because it happens to us like 5 times a week from raid loot, and the GMs reimburse every single one. Credit where credit is due. They are really, really good at making sure that they compensate people for the parcel bug. So we're dealing with like 1,000 items a week in the guild because we're 9 splitting everything. And that means a lot of instances of potential parcel bugs, can arise. And so far, every single one has been corrected by GMs. Every single one. So they've been fantastic. But it would just be cool if the parcel bug didn't exist, right? And this existed on Mischief too. We first saw it on Mischief and Planes of Power because it seems like the population of the zone where you're parceling seems to make it worse. That's just the feel that we have as players. What would happen in Planes of Power is basically the whole server would congregate in Plane of Tranquility and Plane of Knowledge. If you weren't raiding, you're just AFK in one of those zones or milling about, right? And after raids, everyone just gates back to Plane of Knowledge. You parcel all your shit out, and a lot of it was going missing. We're like, what the heck's happening? GMs would replace it even back then, but it was still a hassle. And the bug wasn't as widespread back then, so people would be like losing their shit on us. They'd be like, "Are you trying to steal my Eldon Og?" And like, calm down there, Leaky. We're just going to petition, and you're going to get it in 2 days, right? And as always, GMs replace it. So there's no one who is culpable here. But yeah, the parcel bug is a real thing, and it seems like if the zone you send your parcel out in is super populated, it has a higher chance of going wrong. So like when we send raid loot out, we make sure to never send it out from CL Tunnel right now because it's like the most popular zone. I try to send my raid loot out like the next morning when there's not a lot of people on. I get up before work. I'll try to send out my stuff, and none of the items that I've sent out have ever had to be like petitioned. I think it's because I send it from like my origin city, which is Eridan Palace, very low population, and I send it out at a relatively low population time of the day. Now, when I say low population, Teek 24/7 at all times is high population. You know what I mean? But comparatively speaking. Now, the other end of this parcel bug is that sometimes you just get random loot. Like I occasionally get loot from totally random people, and I don't know, like they might just be sending me loot. I don't know. Some people recognize my name. Sometimes they just send me crap. But people in guild, I've sent I'll send Fates a Cloak of Flames, right? Fates will get the Cloak of Flames, and then someone else will be like, "Hey Zaide, why'd you send me a Cloak of Flames?" And I'm like, "What?" It like literally just duplicated a Cloak of Flames and sent it to another person in my guild. Yeah, we don't know how to replicate it. Otherwise, who knows what would happen if players found out. Maybe someone does, but we don't. But sometimes items are just totally duplicated and sent to multiple people. How it determines A, whether or not it dupes it, and B, where that dupe goes is anyone's guess. I mean, it could be super widespread, but it's just going to random ass people, so you never hear about it. And then sometimes I'll send a Cloak of Flames to Fates. Fates doesn't get the cloak, but someone else gets the cloak. And then they hit me up and they're like, "Hey, I got this from you." I'm like, "Oh, that was supposed to go to this guy. Can you send it back?" And, we send it all around again. Do the merry-go-round. So there are 3 sort of weird bugs with the parcel system right now. Then on top of that, there's the issue with Krono. For whatever reason, a lot of people are experiencing Krono just going missing. Like you log out with 50 Krono, you log back in, you have 48. No one touched your account. No trades were made. They're just gone. And if you petition and you say, "Hey, 2 of my Krono just vanished," the GMs will literally just give you the equivalent market price of platinum value to your character. They cannot generate new Krono. So when your Krono goes missing, they just say, like, right now, if 2 Krono went missing for you on Mischief, they'd give you 100,000 platinum and say, "Okay, well, go buy more platinum, go buy more Krono. Here's your platinum. That's all I can do." And they've, just like the parcel bug, they do this more or less without question, right? They understand that there is a bug going on. Internally, there is something telling them, "Hey, this is a real thing. It's impacting a widespread number of people." If someone petitions about it, hopefully they check the logs to verify, but otherwise just, compensate them the best way you can. But the problem is, there are thousands and thousands of people on this server. If in FOH forums and other places where people congregate, if you've got 10 people who are like, "Yeah, this happened to me," or some people who have experienced it multiple times, that means it's happening a lot, like a lot, all over the place. This is going to be impacting folks. How many times can the market absorb a GM just producing 50,000 platinum before it just wrecks the economy. Well, I mean, I think we've kind of already found that out, right? Like, I don't know how many times it happened, but it's been enough to have a serious negative impact because Krono prices are just outrageous. And that's kind of what happens when you just are dumping 50K, 20K, 100K into the economy. And I mean, that's just on a per player basis. In a day, it could be millions of platinum. Like, effectively, GMs, because of this Krono bug, are the dupe. Like, we graduated from Swineg duping to just like Darkpaw just shitting out platinum because Krono's going missing. Now, why is it going missing? Who knows? Early on, when this first started happening, the first places we saw it were like people who were doing trades in Seal Tunnel. Like, you'd sell a fungi tunic for a Krono. Your fungi's gone. You traded it. You get the Krono. And then the next day, that Krono is gone. So you petition, like, hey, where'd my Krono go? And the GMs originally were saying, oh, hey, that Krono that you got was fraudulent Krono. And we had to remove it. And I can't give you new Krono. So here's platinum equivalent. That's what you would get. I don't think they talk about fraudulent Krono anymore. I don't know if that is even the case for each one of these, or if it's just like server overload causes like some Pokemon Red kind of like buffer overflow bullshit. You know what I mean? But for whatever reason, Krono's going missing. Some people have theorized that it's like fraudulent Krono that people are buying and charging back, or buying with stolen credit cards, you know what I mean? And so they just nuke it when they find out about that. I feel like that's not the case because we never saw this before. And it's not like Teek was when people suddenly started stealing Krono or stealing credit cards or doing chargebacks, you know what I mean? Like, we would have seen this before. It would have been a kind of a standard thing that we had encountered if it was one of those things. So I really think it's like some server population overload kind of related bug, or someone found out a way to dupe Krono. But I would think that if you found a way to do that and you used it, you'd be banned pretty quickly. But yeah, I mean, to give a perspective, it's pretty normal to see like 6,000 people in general chats, or right around 6K, somewhere between 5,500 and 6,000 people in general chats on Teek. And then to have a queue, like you go to log in at raid time, which is, you know, every guild pretty much raids at prime time, unless you're an off-peak guild. But you go to log in between like 8 and 10 p.m. Eastern time, and you're like, oh, there's a queue. Like, the server's been out for 2 months. And it's not like AFK auto kick is still on, which it is, but there is literally a login queue still, which I don't think we've ever seen on a TLP server before, where the actual queue has persisted so long, even with the AFK kicks and everything in. So, man, there is a lot going on with all that stuff on Teek. And for a free trade server, you know, obviously the economy is the most important thing. But unfortunately, yeah, like your ability as a player to just like farm raw platinum and convert that to Krono is pretty much already rapidly going out of reach. And we'll see what Krono prices look like when the Bazaar finally comes out in another 3 months. Hopefully something happens to curb that growth, but I'm not confident. And in the end, right, Mischief survived and was an incredible server, even though it had a platinum dupe. So Teek will still be good. This is not like a doomsday thing. It's just not ideal. It's suboptimal. It's not what you want to happen. And unfortunately, it's what we're experiencing. The other thing that comes with that population size, though, is lag. Now, this most recent patch has supposedly fixed the lag. We'll find out tonight because, you know, tonight is our first official raid night since then. And usually Sundays and Mondays, which is when Faceless raids, we experience unbelievable amounts of lag. Like, it's comparable to like a server launch on Mischief back in like the old eras. The amount of lag we experience, where you can barely move anyone around the raid tool. Invites take a while. There's tell lag. There's like a 10% chance you crash when you zone, and the zone lines can take like 5 minutes a piece. So it was really cumbersome. Supposedly it's fixed now. We'll find out in like 8 hours. But I'm inclined to believe them. They've been really good. Basically, ever since J-Chan took over, they've been super good about chopping away at the lag in the game, changing how things impact like the load on the server. So when they say that they have taken steps to resolve this, I'm definitely inclined to believe them, and I expect that tonight when we raid, we're gonna be like, oh shit, it's like way better. You know what I mean? Everyone's gonna be super happy about it. So I'm excited for that. And honestly, 2 months is a pretty fast turnaround time, right? There's probably an element of this lag where they were like, okay, the server population is like crazy high right now, but in a week it'll start to dip, and so that'll sort itself out. And then a few weeks go by and they say, okay, it's not sorting itself out. Let's tackle this. And then, it's in a queue of like Jira tickets or something, and they get to it and they do it. So overall, 2 months, pretty dang good response time on resolving lag issues. So very happy with that. There have also been a ton of guide events. I mean, like every few days, there's a guide event on Teek, which is incredible because I don't think Mischief ever got any guide events. I mean, I was on Mischief like 24/7. I never saw any guide events. Maybe one or two around the holidays, but that's it. But Teek has very regular guide events, which are awesome, and they're kind of cool. Like, basically, you get an event message that says, hey, there's a GM event or guide event going on in this random zone. You go to the zone. There will be an NPC, which is controlled by the guide. But they have like NPC nameplate. When you open trade with them, it opens the NPC trade window rather than the player trade window, right? So they're NPC mode. And they say, hey, I'm looking for these items for whatever reason. There's not usually like a good lore reason or anything. It's just like, hey, I'm in a frog lock and I'm looking for dinner, so bring me bugs. And then you bring back the items and you'll get some cool item ornamentations. Like I got a fork in a bamboo thing that my items can be a fork and a bamboo. I was hoping it would be like a big fork or spoon like Queena had in Final Fantasy IX, but it's actually just like a literal cafeteria like spork, but whatever. And the bamboo ornamentation is pretty cool. But then they're also giving out 100% weight reduction bags, which is like super good. Everyone should be getting on these whenever they can. The downside is it's Teek, so when this happens, 5,000 people show up, and like you have to make a hotkey for trade and just click the guide and spam it as fast as you possibly can, and then toss your items in the window. Otherwise, you have virtually no chance of getting it in time because they're real people. They have a couple hours to do this, and not everyone is going to get it done in time, even if you have the items and you're ready ASAP. It's luck of the draw. In some cases, I think I heard they formed a line, which is pretty cool. But either way, it's really cool to see that level of dedication happening on Teek. Now, I think the other elephant in the room when it comes to Teek, and I think, I guess Tormax, but no one literally, like, I don't think anyone talks about Tormax. I'm still not sure 2 months in if they've killed Faradar or clear Vishan's Peak. But yeah, on Teek, the tower gear is just crazy. Just totally, totally crazy. There was some thought that maybe they would nerf it or take it away on Teek, but it looks like we're riding this train all the way out. So they just released the new tower tier, and it has a ring. The ring, unless you are a class that really, really cares about AC, pretty much just warrior, maybe enchanter, maybe paladin and shadow knight, this ring is best in slot for you, even in Velius, because it's going to let you get a warren attack or mana regen, whichever is your flavor. It's got more HP and mana than any Velius ring. The only area where it suffers is AC, but that's just a function of Velius gear is just really overstated on AC. So pretty much all the tower gear crushes any equivalent item in Kunark and Velius, unless we're talking about the AC values. So tanks might have to, get rid of their tower gear for when they're tanking, but everybody else pretty much just going to be riding this tower gear. I think it's like 8 slots now. Where we have 2 rings, a mask, a neck, shoulders, back, charm in the ring. So yeah, we're at 8 slots where you no longer, you don't need to play EverQuest anymore, right? You just go get your tower gear in 5 minutes and then you're in there. And the Augs are really what pushes it over the edge, because you really can't turn down warren attack. It's so big. There's no really good place to get it early on in the EverQuest timeline. And the same thing with mana regen. Within the first week of Velius launch, I think almost every main caster on the server, I'd have to assume, will be flowing thought capped, because you're walking in with so much flowing thought and it caps at 15 already. You only need a couple items and boom, you're instantly FT 15, which is really, really crazy. I mean, it's going to make things super easy, especially when it comes to clerics. It'll be interesting how seeing how all this war and attack shortens some of those long raids. Like a full TOV clear might be significantly shorter when your raid has like 50 more war and attack per member on average, and your clerics can CH far easier with less downtime. Then you got out of combat regen. Your necros and wizards and mages can nuke much longer. So, I mean, some of the Velius raids were always kind of a slog once MOTM went in. Like, TOV really didn't need mitigation of the mighty, in my opinion. It could have just used the mobs hitting harder piece of it. It didn't need all the HP increases and AC increases and mitigation on top of it. But it's going to be interesting to see the player power increase. I think Temple of Ishan is the first place where we're really going to see where the rubber meets the road, because it's the first time you have a zone that has a notable clear time on TLPs. Like, if you walk in with a decent raid that is not like, if you go in with 72 people, you'll just burn through TOV. Who cares? But if you're going to do a TOV DZ and you're splitting and you've got 40 people or 50 people, you should see really significant time saves on Teek versus other TLP servers as a product of the increased flowing thought, the increased war and attack, and the out of combat regen. Basically, like, every time a dragon hits 5%, all your casters should be just camping already, right? While melee finish it off. That way, before the next mob, they're all back to full mana. So the tower gear, totally crazy, has a bad impact on the economy, but that's because like itemization is kind of weak in these early eras, and the tower gear is just way too powerful. And then I think the last thing really to talk about here is well, I guess there's two things I'll have to talk about. I'll talk about my personal progress on Teek right now, right? Like, I have now reached a point where I've got a bunch of characters. I don't know if I talked about this last time or not, but I've got a level 60 Shadow Knight, level 60 Cleric, 3 level 60 Wizards, and a level 60 Mage. These are spread out, not just on like accounts that I could like 6-box, but across personas too. So part of that is just playing like some of the classes I did some manual grinding to do it all, and enjoyed it with some friends. And then some of them I just got PL'd. So for me, the Wizard is my first time really, really playing a Wizard. You know what I mean? And it was a lot of fun. The Epic is incredibly easy. The other epics I'm still working on. Mage Epic was done a while ago, but I'm not in a rush to finish the other stuff. But beyond epics, I'm pretty much best in slot and everything, and I'm just kind of like, hanging around until Velius, coming to raids and working on administrative items. Kunark is easy. Tower gear is what it is. Makes gearing other characters super, super simple. And other than that, you log in, you raid. And to be honest, I don't even know, other than just raiding to raid, I don't even know what we do it for at this point, because Kunark gear is just absolutely a cesspool right now. It's like rotting. Like, there are times where we kill a dragon, and if items consistently don't get bids in the main round and they go to what we call the free-for-all round, we just start rolling them instead to reduce the overhead on item management. There are times where we kill a dragon and the whole loot table just goes to auto roll at this point. And yeah, I mean, in fact, I think there's the only 3 items that even go for DKP now are Crowns of Ryle, Gracewade Boots, and Robes of the Azure Sky. And robes are tanking too. Like, one night we got 15 robes in a single raid. So it's fun, but like 3 months of Kunark, totally not necessary. 2 months of Kunark would have been totally fine. Like, if Velius launched this week or even last Thursday, I don't think anyone really would have complained. So I think in the future, 2-month Kunark would be the sweet spot no matter what. Even if you launch in Kunark, if you launch in Classic, doesn't matter. 2-month Kunark maximum. This expansion never, ever, ever needs 3 months on a TLP the way Dark Pod TLPs operate. It's very fast. It's very easy to blitz through. So definitely do not need 3 months of Kunark. Now let's talk about the guild. Now I'm not just going to talk about the Teek guild. I should, because I plan to do another episode soon just on Faceless for the people who want to hear that and get angry. But I'll talk about the other guilds a little bit too. First, the guild as an organization is just absolutely on fire right now. I mean, it's crazy. So we have the Burtox Guild. We're the top guild on Burtox, right? That was our Cello guild. Finished Cello, transferred to Burtox once that was over, and Cello got merged. And now they're there. I think Burtox is like top 3 most populated EQ servers, and they crush every new expansion first. So we're doing the live cutting edge content. They're doing great. We've got the Mischief Guild, which just did VOA, got the server first there, and is currently in the expansion after that, where you kill like Lucklin, the goddess Lucklin. And they're about to server first that. I don't think there's any competition even within a mile of that guild now. So absolutely crushing it there. Then we've got the Project Quorum Guild. Remember, Project Quorum at the time of recording for the last 9 months has been, actually, I think 10 months now, has been the most popular EverQuest TLP server, or sorry, EverQuest emulator server. So Project Quorum has been super successful, thousands and thousands of players as well. And our guild there, Project Faceless, has been the top guild since day one. Got every classic server first, got I think most of the server firsts in Kunark. They missed Veneral Sathir because they just kept leveling, while some guild like did VS day one. And they recently, they had the Tracking on server first, and then a couple days ago they got the Vishant's Peak server first cleared there. So that's awesome. And that server is like a little bit more old school mechanic wise, based on the TAC P client, with some serious edits from Secrets and Co. who run things. But yeah, it's good to see us crushing it there. And then we got the Teek Guild. Teek came to Kunark, right? Blasted every single server first, Classic and Kunark, all at once. Then we're crushing everything. I mean, it's just absolutely bonkers. We're 9 splitting content, 9 splitting. So an average week, we're getting 120 to 130 raid mob kills per week. Totally bonkers. The amount of loot coming in is just insane. And our loot system is like, mains can bid pretty much whatever they want for their main character. And then you have a raid box, designated second main, sort of, that has a bid cap, but can bid pretty well. And then after that, things go to free-for-all rounds. And yeah, I mean, it's just a lot of fun right there. So most people in the guild have their main character. A good chunk of them have the raid box that they can bring to raids if we want them. Sometimes we ask that people don't, because it's just easier logistically to manage the smaller pool of characters. And then lastly, every Friday, we do Plat raids. And we're 2 splitting the entire expansion in Plat raids too. So it's just bonkers. For several weeks, people were making a couple Krono per Plat raid. Now, because Kunark is in the doldrums and no item is worth anything, I think they're making like less than a Krono. But that's just the ebb and flow on a free trade server. When Velius comes out, that first Velius Plat raid, people are going to be making like 10 Krono a pop. It's going to be insane. So suffice to say that things are firing on all cylinders. I think this week we got so far, Sunday to Sunday, we have 11 open world raid mob kills, not counting like Fadadar, which would pump us up to like 18 or something. So I would describe the guild as like pretty much exactly what I want it to be. Pretty much exactly where we want it to be. Like racing hard for server first. We're doing Vaniki raids once a week. We're doing our normal raid schedule with deep splits, tons of loot. People are happy. Then we have Plat raids for people who want them. And we snipe open world like pretty much where we want. We lose a fair amount. We win a fair amount. And I think everyone is just pretty cool with it. Like, yeah, I don't know. There's nothing that I would really change about the guild from where it is right now. You know what? I would change one thing. If I could change anything about the Teek Guild, I would recruit like 2 more really good raid leaders, because our biggest limiting factor when it comes to splits is not even like the roster. It's just having people who can lead split raids. That I think is really just a function of Kunark. Like when you get into Valius and beyond, you tend to raid with a slightly larger force than what you do with Kunark, so the splits probably won't be like as deep. Like you're not gonna. I just don't see us 9 splitting Temple of Vishan, right? So with the next couple expansions and pretty much every expansion after that, our burden of split count raid leaders, blah blah blah, will go down, and that problem will sort of solve itself. But yeah, I mean, gosh, the guild is just. It's everything I think that we all wanted it to be. And seeing that we were able to do it without compromising any of the other guilds is, I think, the best part of all of it. Because when we did the Cello guild, right, we had the Lockjaw and Agnar guilds running at the same time. And both of those guilds sort of died. Maybe not directly because of Cello, but Cello server launch definitely did not help those guilds. A lot of the leadership and folks from those servers came over, and I would say that we didn't do a great job of keeping the other servers supported while also focusing on the new server. But here, I mean, it's just crazy. I don't want, this is going to turn into me like fawning over the guild too much, but I mean, I don't know. Has there ever been a guild that has had like 4 branches successfully running at the same time, simultaneously? Like Teek, Mischief, Burtox, three. I mean, like if we're doing like the top 5 most popular servers in EQ, I think those are 3 of them, right? Teek is the number 1. Mischief is probably number 2, if not number 3 or 4. And I think Burtox is like the number 3 live server. Maybe it's not. But the 2 most popular TLPs by far, Faceless is the top guild on. One of the most popular live servers, and then the most popular emulator server. I mean, it's cool. It's a feat. It's a serious feat, especially since the leadership on these guilds is like cross-pollinated pretty well. Like a lot of people from Mischief play on Teek and vice versa. And a lot of people from Burtox play on Teek and vice versa. And some of the Mischief and Burtox people are now raiding together in each other's guilds. And it's created this really cool thing where like you have because the Burtox guild has done all content, the Mischief guild can ask them, hey, like this new expansion, what's going on with this? You know what I mean? They get all the advice. They know all the strats. And Teek, we just ask the Mischief guild, or we look at our old Mischief guild docs and we're like, oh, okay, yeah, like this is what we did on this launch. And we all have a billion characters on Mischief. If we ever want to test anything, like, oh yeah, what are the loot tables in this expansion? Or does this mob still drop this, or has it been changed? Like, it's just super, super beneficial to have all these close ties. So overall, Teek is a great server. There's some issues for sure. Tower gear, not great. PLR situation, totally out of control. Something needs to be done about it. I'm going to go out on a limb here and say, like, it's a problem. It's a problem. The cheating situation, not good. They just need to, I mean, like, there doesn't need to be a complex solution to cheating. Detect it, do a suspension wave. Don't do them twice a year. Do them once a month. If you are suspending a random selection of people who are cheating once a month, they will stop cheating. It will become too annoying to continue to cheat if every 3 months one of your accounts is literally getting permabanned because it has been suspended 3 times. It'll be too annoying. If you start doing monthly suspension waves, all this cheating shit will go away within like 6 months. You just got to keep at it. There's no reason not to do it. There's no reason not to do it. It's like the most popular server ever. And the thing that is going to make people be driven away is seeing the cheating as they get into these higher level brackets, and it's more in their face. So I think they should do that. And by the way, Viniki getting to live soon, I think. I really, really, really hope that when Viniki hits live, they do not merge it into another server. Let Viniki be the theme park that it is forever. Just let it sit there. And what it does is it causes people who are going to play on TLP servers to re-up their subscriptions 2 months early to get all their Viniki achievements. It's a super amazing server. I hope Viniki stays exactly how it is and never gets merged into a live server. Or if they do, please launch a fresh one so we could do it again, because Viniki is fantastic. I don't want to find a day where they're like, oh, Viniki is merging next month and we have to do like 500 Viniki raids to bank up on achievements. But I worry that that's what's going to happen. Anyway, this is Zaide. This is episode 44 of DramaQuest. Forgot the name of the podcast here. Yeah, this is episode 44. It's been awesome. Everything is great. The guild's doing great everywhere. The podcast is fun. I've talked to a lot of you guys in game. Appreciated it. Real life is wonderful as always. So for me, and hopefully for all of you, life is good. The world is wonderful. Have a nice night.